Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video I just wanted to share a mindful day in my life. I'll talk a bit more about mindfulness later on, but I'm going to start by mindfully eating this French toast that I just made. So what is mindfulness? Well, I first started learning about mindfulness when I was doing my Masters of Counselling and Psychotherapy. When I first heard about it, I have to be honest, it didn't really connect with me. I felt like it was a little bit too airy-fairy and it seemed like meditation, which I wasn't really a big fan of. It just didn't really feel like something that I wanted to do at the time. I mean, I was a university student and I was learning about this concept, and if I think about it, it's probably around 2012, 2013, which is now about over 10 years ago. And mindfulness was a known thing back then, but it wasn't as big as it is now. So it wasn't something that I kind of caught on to, and I was like, oh yeah, I can see how I could apply that to my life. So then a few years later, when I started working, I went to a professional development training day with Dr. Russ Harris, who teaches acceptance and commitment therapy, and he went through the process of mindfulness. And the way he explained it, I really ended up connecting with the concept of mindfulness and how I could actually apply it to my everyday life and use it as like a practical strategy and concept in regards to creating focus and being able to retrain my brain into working in the way that I needed it to. So you're probably wondering, well, how do you do that? How does mindfulness work? How do you use mindfulness to be able to do that? So I kind of looked into it a bit more, and throughout my now counselling career, I have run mindfulness workshops and I've taught mindfulness to different groups of people, whether it's been colleagues at my workplaces or people in the community and my clients. And I found that the way I learnt it and then teaching it that way, it seems to be taken in a bit more, and it shows how you can actually apply it to your everyday life. So in terms of the definition of mindfulness, it's basically about being in the present moment and focusing on what's in your control at the time without judgment. So without judgment is kind of the turning point of mindfulness, because generally when we're doing something in our everyday lives, we tend to have lots of thoughts coming in and out of our mind constantly. Our attention is trying to be taken away by lots of different things. There's so much stimulation in the world, and we are constantly being dragged back and forth, so many thoughts. What do I make for dinner? What am I doing when I get home tonight? What am I doing at work? All of these things. And it's about basically trying to not judge yourself for having all of these thoughts and not thinking about all of these thoughts. So again, how do you do that? So with mindfulness, it's not about getting rid of those thoughts, because at the end of the day, you cannot get rid of your thoughts. The more you tell yourself not to think about something, the more you're going to think about it. If I tell you don't think about an orange, what's on your mind right now? Probably an orange. So the more you tell yourself not to think about something, the more you're making a judgment about that thought and trying to reorganize it. What you want to do, rather than trying to tell yourself not to think about it, is tell yourself, let me put it aside. I noticed that thought, but it's not my focus right now. What you want to tell yourself is, how do I put that thought aside for now? Because it's not my focus right now. My focus is the activity that I'm doing right now, whether it's working, whether it's spending time with your kids, whether it's watching a TV show or reading a book. That is your focus. So you choose what your focus is, and then that's how you put aside the other thoughts that are coming in and out of your mind. And you do this intentionally, because that is then teaching your brain to be able to focus on what you choose to focus on, rather than all of these other thoughts coming in and taking your attention away. So how can you apply this to your everyday life? So personally, what I teach people is choose the activity that you're doing and do that for a number of days, at least 21. They say it takes 21 days to create a habit. So if you can do this activity 21 days in a row and be mindful while doing it, that will hopefully start teaching your brain how to be mindful. So people tend to say, well, I don't have time to add another activity into my day, or I just don't have time to think about another thing to have to do. But what I try to say is choose something that you already do and apply the mindfulness technique to that activity. So that can be brushing your teeth, having your morning tea or coffee, having breakfast, doing a work activity that you have to do every day. Whatever the activity is, choose to do it mindfully. So what does that mean? Again, so basically, say you choose brushing your teeth as your activity. It means you need to focus on brushing your teeth while you're brushing your teeth. And that might sound like common sense, but it's not actually easy to do, and it's not something we tend to do naturally. Because while we're brushing our teeth, we're thinking about all of the other things we have to get done in the day. We might be thinking about getting kids ready for school or getting their food ready, what we're going to have for lunch, what we've got on for that day for work. There's so many other thoughts coming in and out because we feel like brushing our teeth is such a mindless activity. You don't need to think about it. You do it every day. It becomes a habit. But what you want to do is you want to make it a mindful activity and actually focus on each of the teeth that you're brushing. Focus on the textures, the flavors, all of the different things going on in your mouth. And that means you're bringing your focus to the actual activity rather than flowing away with all of the thoughts that are coming in and out. But it doesn't mean the thoughts aren't going to stop. They're going to keep coming in and out. So as I said earlier, you're intentionally saying, I noticed that thought. I'm just going to let it go while I brush my teeth. I'm bringing my attention back to the feelings and the emotions and the taste that are coming from brushing my teeth. So that's an example of how you can apply mindfulness to your everyday activities. You can also apply it to just before bed. So give yourself about 10 minutes to listen to a guided mindfulness. You can do a body scan. There are lots of different apps that you can use as well to do guided mindfulness. So it helps you focus, say, on different parts of your body if you're doing a body scan. And it tells you that the thoughts may come in and out, but just notice them and then bring your focus back to what you're doing. You can do it as you wake up. But again, if you find that you can't really add that extra time to your day, just attach it to an everyday activity that you already do and you'll find it becomes easier. And then when you are actually doing other things, you'll notice your brain will have the ability to focus rather than letting it go in and out of all these other thoughts that you're having. So finally, why is mindfulness important? So basically, the ability to choose where you focus and what you focus on is such a skill. It's not easy in this day and age with all the stimulation that we have to be able to focus on what you're doing. If you're able to focus on what you're doing, you'll appreciate it so much more. You'll feel like you can get it done a lot quicker, and you'll actually be able to spend that time immersed in what you're doing, whether it's spending time with your kids, you're at a friend's wedding, you're at work. You actually feel like you're connected and you're there, you're present, rather than feeling like you've got all of these other things to do and you can't just focus on what you're doing. So I see it as a skill, and I see it as training your brain to be able to do that. And I highly recommend that you try it out. Try it out for 21 days. Be mindful while doing a certain activity that you do in your everyday life already. And let me know in the comments if you do try it out. Let me know how it works, what you think. If you have any other thoughts or questions, also let me know down in the comments. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you in my next video.